Welcome, folks, once again to Shnockered Wrestling Review. I'm your host, George the Drunken Animal. Today I will be reviewing Battleground 2016, which was last Sunday. I know it's about a week late, but real life problems couldn't get to it till now, but what the hell. This time I will be drinking Strong Chew High, lemon flavored. 9% alcohol by volume. Those of you watching this who have been to Japan, like Josh Baker and Justin Emmett, know exactly what this is. This is one of my favorite Japanese alcoholic beverages. It's kind of like a wine cooler-esque type thing, but a lot better, a lot stronger, so ought to be pretty good. Overall thoughts on the thing before I really get into it. Great overall pay-per-view. I believe this will be the last of the B pay-per-views before or after the brand split. So we'll have to see where they go after SummerSlam for their pay-per-views, who's going to get what pay-per-views, how they're going to do this crap. My hope is they just alternate per month. That they don't go adding pay-per-views, so they have like one pay-per-view every 2 weeks now, because that's just going to be way oversaturated. I would rather have the big four: SummerSlam, Survivor Series, Rumble, and Mania. Those would be your cross-brand where everybody's involved in them. And then every other month will be either a Raw pay-per-view or a SmackDown pay-per-view. That will give the shows enough time to build up feuds for themselves and everything else, instead of trying to cram everything into 2 weeks and making everything completely ridiculously crammed together and bullshit. But we'll see. So, right off the bat, I did not watch the pre-show. I never watched the pre-shows. I just don't give a shit about them. So, even though I did read the pre-show match was the Usos versus Breezango, or whatever the fuck you want to call them, and it was a pretty decent match. Breezango seems to be getting some kind of a little push now, so I don't know. We'll see how things hash out over the next few weeks and months with them, and what they do with them. And then the show proper opens with the tag match of Dana Brooke and Charlotte versus Sasha Banks and a mystery opponent, or mystery partner. And most people probably, your internet fans and stuff, probably had figured out that Bayley was going to be the logical choice for her partner, seeing how but she wasn't drafted and she wasn't really mentioned. So me just being a lifelong wrestling fan and putting two and two together, kind of figured that was probably going to be the safe bet, that it would be Bayley. And yes, it did end up being Bayley. And oh my god, did she get a fucking huge pop. I've never seen, I don't think in my entire time of watching wrestling for 40 some odd years, that I've ever seen a woman get a pop that huge. And quite frankly, very few men get pops that huge. She got a Stone Cold-esque pop. So when she does finally make her main roster debut, I think she will do fine, depending on how they handle her. The casual fans seem to know who the hell she was, and of course anybody who watches NXT definitely knows who she is. So, but JBL did somehow mysteriously get sources telling him that Bayley was doing this just as a one-time favor for Sasha, so she would not be immediately coming to the main roster, which that's fine with me. She is going to be facing Asuka at TakeOver Brooklyn for the women's title. So I would see at the earliest she's going to debut would be either SummerSlam or the day after SummerSlam. The Raw after SummerSlam or SmackDown after SummerSlam, whichever show she does end up on. That would be the earliest I would see her debuting. By the way, if you want to really hear a good interview with her, Talk is Jericho, his podcast about a week ago, I want to say it took place either just before or just after. I think it took place just before the Battleground pay-per-view here. And it was a very good, interesting interview with her and Jericho. And she goes into her indie days and how she came up with the name Bayley and the Izzy phenomenon and everything else. A really, really good listen. I highly recommend you check that out if you're a Bayley fan. But anyway, it was a really good match considering there were 3 really, really good wrestlers and Dana Brooke in there. As you can tell, I'm not a Dana Brooke fan. Never really have been. She's got an interesting look, but I don't know. She's good as a backup to somebody else. She should still be down in NXT, in my opinion. She should have never been brought up. I think they brought her up with the intention of keeping her with Emma, which was a really good team down in NXT. Then Emma gets hurt, so now they're stuck with Dana Brooke, so they just shoehorn her in with Charlotte for no apparent reason. But it is what it is. She's good in these multi-women matches, whatever, or where she's on the outside causing trouble, but she's not having to carry a match by herself in the ring in a singles match. She has improved a lot, just I'm not that big of a fan. Anyway, the next match, let me get my notes here, I believe was the oh crap, never mind. Oh yeah, Sasha Banks and Bayley did end up winning that match, with Sasha making Charlotte tap to the bank statement, which since this is being recorded after Raw, I can go ahead and put out that that led to Sasha Banks versus Charlotte at Raw the next night for the title, and Sasha finally did win the WWE Women's title. So congrats to her, and this hopefully she gets a good long reign. I kind of prefer her more as a heel. The boss character seems more of a heel type character, but I think they're going to keep her face for a little while longer, finish off the Charlotte feud, which I do see culminating at SummerSlam with some kind of stipulation match or something that Sasha will end up winning and transitioning on into her next feud. Oh. Then the next match was the Wyatt Family versus the New Day. Now, since the draft, we now know that the Wyatt family has been sort of broke up. For whatever god unknown reason, they decided that they wanted to put Braun Strowman as a singles wrestler on Raw, and kept Eric Rowan and Bray Wyatt on SmackDown. Hopefully this does signal a return soon with Luke Harper, and the Wyatt family can continue their domination there. If I had to guess, 6 months to a year from now, you will not know who Braun Strowman is. I just don't see him surviving as a singles wrestler on his own. Yeah, he's big and he's kind of impressive, but he's not. He has no real charisma per se, and he's just another big guy that can do big guy stuff, and those are pretty much a dime a dozen in the wrestling world right now. So unless something really drastic happens within the next 6 to 8 months, or 6 months to a year, I don't see Braun Strowman being around much longer. But this was the culmination of the New Day Wyatt family feud, where the Wyatt family they came out to interrupt the New Day doing their jokey thing, and it was a interesting concept where you have the New Day, who's always known as being just these happy-go-lucky, jokey guys, always cutting jokes and ripping on people and making fun of people. And then you have the Wyatt family, who's this really serious, dark entity, as it were. Ooh, excuse me. Deciding that they want to destroy the power of positivity. And New Day falls. New Day falls. I love that shit. I am unabashedly a huge New Day or Wyatt family fan. I'm also a big fan of the New Day too. Don't get me wrong. But the Wyatt family, they are definitely one of my favorites. As you can see, I've got my where's it at? Oh, there it is. Oop. Oh, crap. Well, I got my little New Day, or my Wyatt family sheep mask here, my Wyatt family medallion. So, yeah, I have been a huge Wyatt family fan for a very, very long time, and hopefully they start to actually use them properly and get them the build that they need. The only problem with the Wyatt family is they lose every goddamn feud that they've been in. They've never really had any one big defining feud that they won, unless you count this, which I think they're the New Day did, or God damn it. The Wyatt family did end up winning this. After all, the whole story of the match was how Xavier Woods is so creeped out and fucked up by Bray Wyatt and seemingly hypnotized at times by Bray Wyatt that you didn't know what he was going to be doing and how things were going to work out. And that played into the end where suddenly Xavier Woods goes nuts. He snaps out of it and he starts attacking all the Wyatt family by himself after they'd laid out everybody else. He goes to knock Braun Strowman off the ring apron. He can't, so Big E does his usual, I'm going to try to kill myself on pay-per-view, spear through the ring ropes. God, I really hope he stops that one of these days soon, because I really do not want to see a man die on pay-per-view, and if he keeps this shit up, one of these days he will break his fucking neck, and it's going to be ugly. He's he's one of those wrestlers, he's billed as being a big power wrestler type guy, but he's not that tall. He's big, thick, muscular, but he's kind of short for a wrestler, so he's one of them odd-sized wrestlers. So he always tries to do these crazy moves and shit like that. But yeah, I just he needs to stop that shit before he kills himself. But anyway, after he did that, Xavier Woods had turned around to see that, and then he turns around and see Bray Wyatt go into his little upside down spider walk. That just freaked the fuck out of him again, which, quite honestly, I think if I saw somebody doing that, I would probably shit myself too. So, and then walks into a Sister Abigail. 1, 2, 3. That's the end of the New Day. So, normally I'm not a big fan of the tag team champions losing non-title matches. If they're building the New Day up as the longest reigning WWE tag champs of ever, well, yes and no. Of the modern era, I guess, if you from the last brand split, they did just break London and Kendrick's almost year-long reign. So in that regards, they are. But I do believe that Demolition actually did have the tag titles longer than anybody else. So we'll see. That's just WWE being WWE doing their version of history, which is whatever the fuck they say goes, regardless of the facts. Anyway, the next match there. Oh God, yes, this was the only match that I really wasn't really that looking forward to, because I am a big fan of Rusev. And I do like the way they are booking him now as this big, super strong heel. But and how he's destroying everybody. And I guess if you're going to feed him somebody, Zack Ryder's as good as anybody to feed him. So, yeah. Whatever. So, this was Zack Ryder versus Rusev for the U.S. title. Lana comes out first. I remember her coming out saying how he is a true American hero, and the U.S. champion is from, I think they're calling him from Bulgaria again. I don't fucking know. Half the time they say Russia, some say from Bulgaria. It doesn't matter. He's a badass, and I really, really love Rusev. And if you ever follow him on Twitter and see some of the shit he posts, he is just hilarious. And I think he is one of the top 3 heels in WWE right now. Maybe even top 2. It's really close between him and Kevin Owens for me as to which are the 2 really top real heels that go out and try to get heel heat and don't try to be the cool heel and really want people to boo them and hate them. So we'll get into the number 3, which would I would think would be the Miz, who's those are the top 3 true heat-seeking heels at this point that everybody just hates for good reason. Anyway, this was your typical Rusev match. He dominated most of it. He did finally end up winning with the what I'm going to dub the super accolade, where he'll put the regular accolade camel clutch on somebody, and then if they don't tap to that, he will just wrench it back where he's leaning all the way back and bends these fuckers almost in half. It just looks. This is one of the most brutal looking submission holds out there right now, and I just love that submission move. So he destroys Zack Ryder, of course, and then after the match he goes and starts attacking him again. And who decides to come out to save him. Mojo fucking Rawley. Oh, God. Why the fuck Mojo Rawley was drafted from NXT up to SmackDown, I have no fucking clue. I've never really been that big a fan of his. He does have a lot of, like, he's hype. Yes, that's his whole thing. He has a whole lot of energy and seems genuinely glad to be out there and super fun and everything. But God, does he suck. There's a reason they put fucking Zack Ryder with him to try to mask his things and put them with the Hype Bros tag team. So, my guess is they will just be a tag team on SmackDown. And the other thing is, why have Mojo Rawley come and attack Rusev to try to save Zack Ryder if they're on SmackDown and Rusev is on Raw and there's no chance of Rawley getting a match with Rusev whatsoever? Unless they're planning on doing something at one of the joint pay-per-views or something, but God, I hope not. I really do not want to see Rusev versus Mojo Rawley. That is just something that should never happen in anybody's nightmares. Then we have the the fucking match of the night. Very high contender for match of the year. This was fucking the most awesome thing I've seen in quite a long time. It was the Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens. Initially, they were building this as the end of the feud. The last time these two would ever face each other until SmackDown, or because they both got drafted to SmackDown. So why build this as being the last ever meeting of these two when you know you're going to have them on the same brand and they will still be interacting? So, other than that, this was just a brilliant match. They both, this is probably the best match of theirs I've seen yet. And their matches in NXT were just phenomenal, but this, I think, stepped it up even, up to 11, as Spinal Tap would say. Mine goes to 11, and that's what this match did. It was just both of them going back and forth and knowing each other so well and countering each other's moves and knowing when they were going to be doing certain spots and doing certain things and countering things that you didn't think was possible. There was one minor little botch in the match that I thought fucking Sami Zayn had about killed himself. He went to do his little springboard backflip off the top rope to the outside and slipped and damn near landed on his head on the outside. It looked brutal. It just looked like he had about killed himself. But that did kind of play into the way this match was, where they were both willing to throw themselves full force, do whatever it took to beat the other person. That they needed, both of them felt they needed to destroy the other one to finally put this to rest. And I think it would be kind of cool if they did actually put them as a tag team for a while now after this, where they do the if they were going to turn Kevin Owens face and have Owens and Zayn as a tag team, which I think would be just an awesome tag team too, considering how well they know each other and their history and everything. I think they could be an awesome tag team. Because I would see Owens turning face before I could see Zayn turning heel. But that's neither here nor there. I would just fantasy booking in my head there for a minute. But yeah, they just went back and forth and back and forth. Towards the end, Owens hits the pop-up powerbomb finally on Zayn, goes for the pin, and right at 2 7/8, Zayn gets his foot on the rope. So that was one of the best near falls I've seen in a long time. You just knew it was over, but Zayn just managed to barely get his foot on the rope at the very last second. Then Owens starts flipping out and starts just like slapping him in the face, going, stay down, stay down, stay down. And that just fires Sami up something fierce. He hits the exploder into the turnbuckle, grabs him, throws another exploder into the middle of the ring, slams him over into the turnbuckle, nails the haluva kick, and instead of going for the pin then, he has his basic Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair, I love you, I'm sorry moment kind of thing, where he grabs Owens, sets him back up in the turnbuckle again, and says, wham, one last haluva kick, because he knew that one wasn't going to be enough. He knew he had to finally purge himself of Kevin Owens and destroy him this way, and gets the 1, 2, 3. Oh my God, the words just do not describe how much I love this match. This was just one of the best. It was the best match of the night. Period. There was nothing that came even really close in my opinion. This was the match of the night. Then, unfortunately, they have the next match is Becky Lynch versus Natalya. Unfortunately, because there's no way that they could have possibly followed this match. Nobody on the planet could have followed this match right now with another match. And as much as I love Becky Lynch and as much as I love Natalya, this feud has got to end. It's just I don't know. Initially, I was really, really happy for Natalya turning heel and finally getting a little edge to her and everything. But Becky Lynch deserves so much more. She's another one that really needs to finally break through, have that one career-defining victory that brings her up in people's eyes and shows her how great she can be. I saw Becky Lynch versus Asuka here in Tokyo, and my God, that was one of the best women's matches I've seen in a long time. It was a great technical match. It was a great back and forth submission style match, and it really showed what Becky Lynch can do. Unfortunately, this match with Natalya, not so much. They just, for whatever reason, they don't click. They just don't have the chemistry to pull this off. And I don't really, I think it's just a matter of neither one of them really clicking with each other. They both, I wouldn't blame any, like, one of them saying, well, it's Natalya, she's dragging Becky down, or Becky's dragging Natalya. No, it's just that they just don't click, and they don't really they don't mesh well together in the ring, in my opinion. And especially the way the match ended. I really don't care that Natalya won. It was that she basically won clean. She forced her to tap out in the middle of the ring. There was no shenanigans. There was no cheating or anything like that, to where it was just basically Natalya working Becky's legs the entire time and eventually being able to slap on the sharpshooter and get her to tap out clean. If you're going to continue the feud, you really should have had either if you're going to have Natalya win, there should have been some kind of fuck finish, chicanery, whatever, something that makes them both look good and strong. This did nothing for either one of them. It just was, it was there. So this was probably between this and the Rusev match versus Ryder. It's close as to which was the worst match. It just I don't, well, that, and I think the next match was also, the next match was also another those were the three worst matches of the night, in my opinion, that just didn't really make a whole lot of sense. And the next match was The Miz, Intercontinental Champion, with Maurice versus Darren Young with Bob Backlund in his corner for the Intercontinental title. Now, Darren Young had won a Battle Royal on Raw, I think. Yeah, on Raw. Or was it Smack? I don't remember. It was Darren Young won a Battle Royal to become the number one contender to Miz's Intercontinental title. And by won, I meant he eliminated absolutely nobody, and he was actually laid out in the opposite corner unconscious while Baron Corbin and Apollo Crews eliminated each other. So immediately you start off with a number one contender who's a fluke to begin with. And I don't know where the fuck they're going with this Darren Young and Bob Backlund thing. It can be interesting. The way the match ended, I can see it being an interesting turn for Darren Young, but I don't know. It was a strange match. To tell you the God's honest truth, after watching it, I'm not even sure who the fuck won. They just rang the bell out of nowhere. The end came where Maurice goes up and slaps the ever-loving dog shit out of Bob Backlund on the outside, and just slaps the taste right out of his mouth. And then you're supposed to believe that Maurice does this behind the ref's back and falls down, and both the ref and The Miz see Maurice, because Maurice falls down and acts like Bob Backlund attacked her. The only problem with this is the ref is watching the entire fucking time. So I have no fucking clue where this was going. Because the ref is looking directly at Maurice as she falls down while Bob Backlund's about 12 feet away from her. So I have no fucking clue what the actual fuck was going on. So The Miz, all he sees, he'd been laid out by Darren Young for with some move. I forgot what it was, but he looks up and he suddenly sees Maurice on the ground, and he's like, "Oh my God, Bob Backlund attacked her, so I have to go defend Maurice from crazy old Bob Backlund." So he gets out of the ring and goes after Backlund, who this was the funniest moment of the night. Backlund goes to rip his shirt off. He's wearing just a regular button-down regular shirt, like a white dress shirt. But he's wearing it under suspenders. So whenever he goes to rip it off, the shirt's hanging off the back of the suspenders. So you just see this ridiculous shot of crazy Bob Backlund with his white shirt hanging off the back of his suspenders. And it's fucking ridiculous. It's just, it's hilarious. It's Bob Backlund. Enough said. Bob Backlund's, I'm old enough to remember whenever he was the WWF champion way back when. He was one of the first wrestlers I really did like, and I did really gravitate to watching his technical amateur style, as it were, and I distinctly remember one of my earliest wrestling memories is Bob Backlund versus Jimmy Snuka in a steel cage, and you see Jimmy Snuka, he climbed to the top rope to do his Superfly Smash, and then decided to climb to the top of the cage to do it, and I distinctly remember looking at my mom going, "Wait, Bob Backlund just saw him, and he's going to move," because you just see Bob Backlund kind of glance up and see Snuka at the top of the cage, and he rolls out of the way, and Snuka just splats himself right on the middle of the ring, and Backlund escapes the cage and retains his title. So, and him losing the title to the Iron Sheik when Arnold Skaaland threw in the towel. I remember these things. And then whenever he came back several years later as Mr. Bob Backlund, Bob Backlund has always been one of my favorites of all time. I'm an unabashed fan of Bob Backlund. So anything he does, I'm going to automatically bump up, in my opinion, as being fun and great. But anyway, so you got Backlund out there with his shirt hanging off the back and everything, and Darren Young comes up behind him and slaps on the worst looking cross-faced chicken wing in the history of the planet. I don't know what the fuck happened there, but then all of a sudden the ref calls for the bell while Darren Young has the cross-faced chicken wing on the Miz on the outside. Why he called for the bell at that point? Fuck if I know. That just, to me, that made absolutely no fucking sense whatsoever. So I'm not even sure if they announced. I don't remember if they even announced who the winner was or whatever. Maybe just became a no contest with both of them counted out or some bullshit like that. But anyway, The Miz walks out with his title. And then after that, you've got the refs all trying to pull Darren Young off, and he has snapped. He has snapped like Bob Backlund back in the day. He just kind of went blank, and then after they finally pull him off, you see him kind of glancing down at his hands, going, what the fuck happened? What did I do that? What the hell's going on? So that's why I say this could be interesting to see where they go with this. I kind of want to see the psychotic Darren Young that will occasionally snap and just go ballistic and not have control of himself and then snap out of it afterwards. That could be fun if handled right. But leave it to WWE, they'll fuck it up. I have no doubt in my mind. So, yeah. Then after that, we have another really, really good match with a so-so ending. You had the Club versus Enzo and Kaz, who I'm going to refer to as the Certified G's, and John Cena. So the Club, of course, everybody knows AJ Styles, Luke Gallows, and Carl Anderson. Now, this is another one where a lot of the participants after this are split up. So Gallows and Anderson went to Raw. AJ went to SmackDown. Cena went to SmackDown. And the Certified G's, I believe, ended up on Raw. So this ought to be, going forward, you have some interesting matchups. It will also be really interesting to see, now that they've drafted Finn Balor to Raw, whether or not they eventually align him with Gallows and Anderson as the Balor Club. I could see that eventually, but I think they're going to keep Balor face for now, and they really, really made a big deal of his debut. First, having him win the Fatal 4-Way against, what was it, Rusev, Del Rio, him, and I can't even remember who the fuck the other one was. Yeah, that shows you how I'm drunk, folks. Excuse me, whatever. But he beat them, and then he turns around and gets a clean pin on Roman fucking Reigns on Raw to become the number one contender for the what I'm calling the stupidest name title WWE's coming up with in a while, the Universal title for Raw. I have no fucking clue where they come up with these. They got like some 8-year-old in the back writing shit down, going, let's see, let's go on to WWE 2K16 and see what people are calling their titles. Here's a Universal title. So we'll have that for Raw. So they're going to have Balor versus... well, I'm getting ahead of myself. First, let me get back to this match. So, another really, really good match. Starts off with, beforehand, you got Enzo and Kaz just killing it on the mic. Enzo Amore, yeah, he is the greatest fucking mic man that WWE has right now. I think he will go down as one of the top mic men of all times if he keeps this up. He just kills it every single time he gets on the mic, and has the crowd just eating out of his fucking hand. There's no fucking doubt in my mind. He is the best mic man that the WWE has right now. Even John Cena stood back while he was on the mic and just said, go for it. So that was great. Another really great back and forth match that you would expect from these six guys. They are all extremely talented. Enzo, in my opinion, Enzo's he's decent to good, or he's not the greatest in-ring talent. His ability, as I said before, is more on the mic, but he can hang, and he proved he could hang with the likes of Gallows, Anderson, and AJ Styles. So and so did Kaz. Those two, I really dread the day that they break them up, and you know what's going to happen because they always fucking do. The WWE, the only tag team I can think of right now that has been together for any real length of time that hasn't broke up is the Usos. And that tells you something. So, anyway, towards the end of the match, one of my favorite parts of the match was right towards the end. The club had laid out everybody but Enzo. So you have Enzo in the ring, and you have Gallows and Anderson trying to corner him. And Enzo just starts going nuts. He's just this little feisty, come on, I think I'm Superman. I'm fucking just I'm gonna kick your ass even though you're twice my size, and it's just hilarious and great. Gallows charges him. He ducks out of the way, slams him into the. He slams his shoulder in the turnbuckle, rolls out. Anderson goes after him, and he holds his own with him. And then, but eventually the numbers catch up to him. They go to hit the Magic Killer. Kaz comes out of nowhere and just boots the living shit out of, I want to say Anderson. Lays them out. Everybody's out on the outside, and now it's you're somewhere along the line. Cena and AJ get tagged back in. And here's where my problem comes in with this match. John Cena. He spent 90% of the time in this match out on the outside of the apron, being cheerleader and everything. But when it comes to getting all the glory and making himself look super great and everything, he comes in and eventually manages to get AJ Styles on the top rope and hits a super AA and gets the pin. Why the fuck do you give John Cena the pin in this? What good does that do any fucking body? In my opinion, if you're going to have the Certified G's and Cena win, you have Kaz and Enzo hit the rocket launcher on maybe Carl Anderson. Then you have Enzo and Kaz getting a huge win over two really respected, great tag team wrestlers, and then you can move them on into a big feud on Raw, since they're both on the same brand. But having Cena pin AJ clean in the middle of the ring, I don't get it. I just don't see how that helps either AJ or Cena, because now they're going to end up probably facing each other at SummerSlam again, and the way they've been booking this AJ Cena feud, the only way I can see this paying off, and I really don't see this fucking happening, but I could see if they're going to have AJ and Cena finally have a big blow-off match at SummerSlam, AJ Styles needs to win this clean. Because almost every victory AJ Styles has had over John Cena has been with the assistance of the club. So, yes, he does get the rub by being in the ring with John Cena and hanging with him, but he needs to finally get the legitimate overall win over John Cena at SummerSlam and in that feud, and then AJ can move on to the World Heavyweight title match against whoever is the champ at that time. So we'll see how that goes. And then, ooh, yeah, nasty. Then you have the cool down from that. You have the highlight reel, Chris Jericho's highlight reel, featuring Randy Orton. They tried to make it like the crowd was just completely ape shit for Randy Orton and how this was a big hero's welcome after 9 months and everything, and they're building up his match against Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. But yeah, he probably had he definitely didn't have the pop that Bayley did. Bayley definitely had the pop of the night when she came out. And Orton, he may have had the second, but I don't know. The rest of them were all kind of blurred together. I really don't think there was anything that could come close to Bayley's pop. But they tried to make it out that Randy Orton is just the most loved and revered and best thing ever coming back crap. And quite honestly, I don't like face Randy Orton. Randy Orton is best as a heel. He needs to be booed. He needs to be a dick. He just seems that way in real life. He just seems like this douchey dick that is so self-entitled and I'm a third-generation superstar, yada, yada, yada. I'm owed everything. So, Jericho did his best to try to get Orton over as a face. And Jericho, he's in the top 5 heels right now, but even he couldn't really get Orton that over as a face. But he did have a couple of really, really good lines. They were the main one that sticks out. Well, there were two. He's now trying to get over this new catchphrase of, well, Brock Lesnar is going to give me 10, 15, 20, 30, whatever it takes to take me to Suplex City. But it only takes one RKO to go to Viperville. God, that's a stupid catchphrase. I just do not think that's going to work, but yeah, whatever. And then I forgot what they were saying, but his no enhancements necessary line against to Brock Lesnar was just pure gold, considering his own trials and tribulations with the wellness policy. So, pot, kettle, black, yeah, whatever. You just I fully expect Lesnar to just destroy Orton, but then again, with all this bullshit that's going on with Brock Lesnar, I could see somehow or another Orton being the one to slay the beast. The Viper slays the beast incarnate, and then Lesnar goes away for however fucking long he's going to go away for again. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. That it was a fun little segment for what it was, and the end. Throughout the thing, you had Jericho going, "Are you going to hit me with an RKO out of nowhere now? How about now? 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 Now?" Yeah, I didn't think. Whatever. He's kind of And then right at the end, Jericho goes, "Yeah, I didn't think so. You're a coward, whatever." Turns around, and then Orton grabs him by his shoulder, turns him around, and Jericho goes, "Ah!" and to block the RKO, and Orton's just like laying down on the ground laughing, just pointing, just go away, go away. And as soon as he does, he jumps up, nails the RKO out of nowhere. Yeah, whatever. It was a fun little spot. I mean, it was what it was. Then we finally get the main event. One of the most anticipated matches of the modern era at this point. The Shield triple threat match. Dean Ambrose, WWE World Heavyweight Champion, or whatever the fuck they're calling him today, versus Seth Rollins, versus the returning Roman Reigns from his own wellness policy violation crap, whatever. And this match definitely lived up to the hype. These three guys went out there and just tore the house down. I wouldn't put it above the Zayn Owens match, but it was close. They definitely pulled out all stops. You had several spots. You had Rollins and Ambrose. Yes. Yeah. Sorry, folks. Yeah, I'm pretty fucking lit at this point, so yeah, forgive me. Anyway, Rollins and Ambrose at one point trying to did the double powerbomb on Reigns through the announce table. Rollins and Reigns both diving out and trying to kill each other on. Yeah, they pulled out just move after moves. You never really knew who was going to eventually win, and that's what I really love when they can do that. Now, going into this match, I fully believed that they were going to put the title on Seth Rollins. I figured he's been drafted to Raw. Raw is being built up as the flagship show. They're going to get the WWE title. So I figured Rollins would more than likely pin Reigns after some kind of shenanigans or something with Ambrose. But I was pleasantly surprised. They actually had Dean Ambrose lay out Roman Reigns with dirty deeds, and he gets the clean 1, 2, 3 in the middle of the ring. So that was one of the biggest shocks in my opinion, because I really didn't. I thought for sure that they had put the title on Ambrose just as a transition while Roman Reigns was out with his suspension and everything, and that they were. I didn't see them putting it back on Reigns, but in all honesty, it wouldn't have fucking surprised me if they did. But I figured if anybody was going to win it, it was going to be Rollins, and then him and Reigns, being both on drafted to Raw, would be fighting over that title. So, but apparently they have now created this new Universal title for Raw. And as I mentioned earlier, they had 2 fatal 4-ways, which culminated in a singles match between Finn Balor and Roman Reigns, and Finn Balor actually pins Roman Reigns in his debut after winning another fatal 4-way, his own fatal 4-way. and he is now going to be facing Seth Rollins for the new Universal title at SummerSlam. So that was shocking to say the least. And then to one up that, SmackDown goes, and they have their own little. Do they have a battle royal or some kind of 6-pack? I think they had a 6-pack challenge or something like some shit like that. And you now have Dolph Ziggler as your number one contender against Dean Ambrose for the WWE title. I have no idea what the fuck they're thinking. I'm a huge fan of Ziggler, but he has been booked so shittily, and you always know he's going to go out there. He's the guy that goes out there and makes everybody else look good. He bumps around and makes everybody else look great. So to have him as the first contender for Dean Ambrose title is kind of confusing to me. Unless they really amp up Ziggler's show-off persona again and have him turn heel, because right now that's a face versus face match that I just don't give a fuck about. I don't know. Hopefully they'll turn it around and they'll do something and make me more interested in it, but there's no way in hell I see Dolph Ziggler beating Dean Ambrose for this title. I just don't see that happening. But I could see this is their transition feud until they get to AJ Styles versus Dean Ambrose. That, I think, will be the next big money feud for Dean Ambrose, is against AJ Styles. I really want to see that happen, and I want to see that's going to be another one that's going to be really hard. I want to see AJ finally win a big title in WWE, and after all of his years of work and everything, and all the great matches he's had just while he's been in WWE, but we'll see. Anyway, so wow, this has been over an hour. My longest one yet, folks. Sorry I went a little long-winded on this show, but it was a great show. I loved it. If you're on Facebook, check out Joshua Baker's Beer and Song of the Day. He runs a really good show. Kevin Sherman's Heavy Metal and Booze. If you're a big metal fan, heavy metal, he is your man. If you're into Star Trek at all, check out Justin Dimmitt's Prosper. Yeah. Oh, dude, this is going to be the most ridiculous show ever. Anyway, and definitely check out Richard Strasberg and Tyler on the network. Hopefully I'll be able to do another show with them sometime soon. So, after this, okay. Well, this is George the Drunken Animal looking up the lights, taking the 1, 2, 3, and Kompai from Japan, fuckers. Fuck. Oh, fuck you. Come on. Next.